What if the world's next great power struggle is not over oil, but over a handful of obscure metals in your pocket? Well, this is not a distant future. It is happening now. A new global competition is quietly unfolding. It is a contest for a group of elements essential to our modern life. These materials are not household names. You cannot buy them at the local store. Yet, they form the very backbone of our digital age, our green energy transition, and our national security. Their control is becoming a central question of international power and influence. These materials are known as rare earth elements. The name is a bit misleading. They are not exceptionally rare in the Earth's crust. Some are more abundant than silver or lead. The real challenge is finding them concentrated enough to mine economically. And the process of separating them from rock and each other is difficult, costly, and often dirty. This complexity makes the supply chain vulnerable. A single decision in one country can send shockwaves through industries worldwide. Think about the device in your hand or on your desk. Your smartphone is a marvel of engineering. It works because of these special metals. Tiny, powerful magnets make your phone vibrate. These metals help create vivid colors on your screen. They are critical in miniature speakers and microphones that connect you to the world. Without elements like neodymium and dysprosium, the sleek, powerful devices we depend on would be clunkier, weaker, and far less capable. Where do these vital metals come from? The geography of rare earth production is highly concentrated. For decades, one country has dominated the global market: China. Deposits exist in many parts of the world: the United States, Australia, Brazil, Vietnam. China invested early and heavily. It developed the industrial capacity to mine and, more importantly, to process these elements. Separating the 17 different elements from each other is technically demanding and environmentally challenging. Many Western countries offshored that work long ago. As a result, a fragile and unbalanced supply chain has emerged. Today, China accounts for over 60% of global rare earth mining, but its dominance in processing is nearly 90%. Even when rare earths are mined elsewhere, the United States, Australia, the raw ore is often shipped to China for final separation and refinement. This gives Beijing tremendous leverage. It can influence global prices and availability through export quotas, tariffs, or other policy changes. A disruption in this single choke point could bring entire global industries to a standstill. The risks of this dependency are not theoretical. In 2010, the world got a stark preview of this vulnerability. Following a maritime dispute with Japan, China unofficially halted rare earth exports to its neighbor. The move sent prices skyrocketing across the globe. Some elements saw their cost increase by over 1,000%. Panic spread through manufacturing sectors worldwide. The incident was a wake-up call. It showed how these materials could be used as a tool of political and economic coercion. It forced governments and companies to confront over-reliance on a single supplier. A global scramble to diversify the supply chain began. The United States is working to restart and expand domestic mining and processing operations, particularly at the Mountain Pass mine in California. Australia is increasing its output, with companies like Lynas becoming a key non-Chinese producer. Other nations are exploring new deposits and investing in research for alternatives. The geopolitical struggle over rare earths is only part of the story. There is another, darker price being paid for our high-tech world: the environmental cost, the human cost of extraction. Mining, processing. The ores are often laced with radioactive materials like thorium and uranium. When the rock is dug up and crushed, radioactive dust can be released into the air. Separating the metals generates vast quantities of toxic, chemical-laden tailings. These waste ponds can contaminate soil and groundwater for generations. The environmental devastation in regions with unregulated mining is stark. In Baotou, Inner Mongolia, a massive tailings lake has formed, a foul-smelling sludge and discolored water. It has poisoned the local water supply and ruined nearby farmland. Reports detail severe health problems: skin diseases, respiratory diseases, elevated cancer rates. It's a grim reminder. Clean tech in our cities is often built upon the pollution of someone else's home. This environmental toll creates a NIMBY problem for Western nations seeking their own supplies. For years, they offshored the dirty work of mining and processing. Now, bringing production home faces stiff local opposition. Strict environmental regulations in the United States and Europe make opening a new mine or processing plant far more expensive and time-consuming. The social costs are just as significant. poor labor conditions, displacement of indigenous communities, and even armed conflict. The quest for these minerals can fuel corruption and instability, resource-rich but economically poor regions. Is our demand for the latest gadget or a greener car contributing to environmental injustice and human suffering? The true cost of our devices is not just the price we pay at the store, but a hidden price paid by the environment and by people living in the shadow of the mines. Faced with this complex web of supply risks and ethical dilemmas, nations are no longer standing still. The global landscape is shifting as countries jockey for position in the new resource race. The United States government has declared rare earths critical to national security and is using defense funds to help build a domestic supply chain. It is forging alliances with friendly nations like Australia, Canada, Japan, to create a rare earth club that can act as a counterweight to Chinese dominance. This is a strategic move to de-risk supply chains and ensure that military and industrial needs can be met without interruption. This new strategic alignment could lead the world down one of two very different paths. The first is a future defined by intensifying competition and conflict. In this scenario, the world splits into rival blocs. Nations might use export controls as weapons in trade disputes, creating a resource nationalism that destabilizes the global economy. A country could hoard its supplies or restrict access to its processing technology to gain a strategic advantage. This path mirrors the great power rivalries of the past, but with mines and refineries replacing oil fields and shipping lanes as the primary battlegrounds. It is a future of heightened tension and zero-sum thinking. Alternatively, there is a path of structured cooperation. Recognizing the shared global dependency and the severe environmental costs, nations could work together. This future would involve establishing international standards for responsible mining to protect workers and the environment. It would mean investing jointly in breakthrough research for recycling technologies, turning our mountains of electronic waste into a new urban mine. Countries could collaborate on developing new materials that reduce or eliminate the need for rare earths in certain applications. The technologies of tomorrow, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, the next generation of clean energy, will all depend heavily on these 17 elements. They are the building blocks of the 21st century economy. As we stand at this crossroads, the challenge is clear. Will we allow the pursuit of these rare metals to drive us apart, sparking a new Cold War over resources? Or will we find a way to manage them as a shared global asset, essential for a prosperous and sustainable future for all?